Hello, and thank you for attending today's webinar. I am Virginia McCoy, an organizer for the webinar, and I will pass it off to Tanya Mentezi in a moment. If you have a question during the webinar, feel free to type it in the questions box in GoToWebinar, and we will address the questions at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, here is Tanya Montezi.
Thank you, Virginia. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. I hope that you're all doing well this morning and that you're all keeping each other safe. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk with you on how our packaging solutions can help solve challenges and empower e-commerce applications, as well as how we can help support your packaging goals. Today, I will focus on the solutions that our Sesame tapes and strings can provide to meet the challenges of the difficult e-commerce supply chain, and will demonstrate what features are available to enhance your packaging and delight your customers. Here we go. So before we get started, I wanted to give you all an overview of H.B. Fuller. H.B. Fuller is the largest pure-play adhesive company in the world, and we have the second largest market share in this diverse space. Our global headquarters are based near St. Paul, Minnesota, but our operations are very global, with 30 technology centers around the world, directed by over 500 field and lab-based technical experts who drive our culture of innovation. We have 71 manufacturing factories, which produce thousands of different adhesives that we sell to customers in more than 125 countries across the world. We've been in business for over 130 years, and in the past decade have experienced the most dynamic growth in our long history. H.B. Fuller solves our customers' adhesive challenges across a variety of diverse industries, including building and construction, electronics, filtration, medical, paper converting, transportation, just to name a few. We currently have more than 10,000 adhesive solutions, and we introduce about 100 new products each year to serve our customers' unique needs. On the bottom of the slide, I've highlighted just some of the products that have helped us build successful decade-long relationships with our customers. Let's begin by taking a look at the current landscape. We're not going to spend much time here, as you probably know these numbers very well. But global e-commerce sales have an annual growth rate around 17% per year, while retail sales are fairly low, sometimes flat. The countries with relatively high and increasing e-commerce market shares are China, South Korea, Indonesia, while the most important countries for e-commerce value sales are in the US, China, the UK, and Japan. But what's changed recently, as reported by Stackline, is that the 10 fastest e-commerce segments as compared to a year ago includes a 670% increase in disposable gloves, 652% increase in bread machines, 397% increase in soups, dried rice, beans. So what this tells me is that people that weren't necessarily e-commerce shoppers are swiftly becoming pros due to the situation we're living today. And on the packaging side, we see that the corrugated is and will continue to be the main material utilized, with 80% of e-commerce in the packaging market. So let's turn our attention to e-commerce packaging and where we are today. In the early days of e-commerce, most of the packaging was a reflection of brick and mortar solutions that had slightly been modified for this new space. But if you flash forward a few years, e-commerce packaging today is so much richer with specific designs and materials. So why did it change so quickly? What happened, some may ask? Well, let's just think about it. In today's world, consumers, they can purchase when, where, and how they want. So for CPG companies, the competition really just got real. And the realization how brand loyalty is so fragile and the challenge to stand out really just got greater. The packaging's role in this new space has completely a different vocation now. Although e-commerce packaging designs have started to change in line with customers' demand, the consumer's expectations have grown, if not even faster. So, originally, if your box protected the item inside and arrived at the consumer's home when promised, well, that would have been a very satisfied customer. But now there's so much more to it. So here is some of what's changed as we've moved from consumers forming an experience at the brand level versus, on the shelf versus the experience with e-commerce. So the first impression piece is really what counts. This is really a unique opportunity for the retailer or a specific brand to make a good or a not so good impression. Studies have shown that a good impression will strengthen the customer loyalty to the brand. But what message will a damaged or a broken box give? In traditional retailing, a key component of the purchase consideration is the branding and the messaging on the outside of the package. But on the retail shelf, the packaging really needs to convey the message that it's a better solution than the competitor's product sitting right next to it. So now in this new e-commerce space, the packaging really needs to convey the message to the consumer that they've made the right choice. And lastly, we are now in a value-driven consumer era. So the packaging really needs to convey the message that you support the customer's needs for sustainable solution, that there's a growing need for packaging that can be recycled, or better yet, reused as a return box. There are greater demands on the packaging when it comes to the demanding supply chain. So as indicated in the Mintel Global Packaging Trend, products can be handled 20 times or more in the e-commerce supply chain. So only through an established e-commerce packaging strategy can brands really design packs for the worst case scenario type of distribution scenario. So this requires the packaging to be more robust, to arrive at the customers in a good shape, to protect a very strong brand image, and to protect the contents inside. So if the item is damaged, if the packaging is dented or torn or even bursted, well, that's going to reflect negatively on the brand image and not necessarily on the e-tailer. Let's talk about unboxing experiences. Studies have shown that it takes about 22 seconds for the consumer to make an opinion about the brand and the product. So think about the look of the packaging, the opening, the unboxing, and how key those elements are now. How important that role plays in that first initial interaction with the product. The packaging really needs to empower the brand image from the warehouse all the way to the consumer. When I attended EPAC USA last October, Melissa Dandy from Johnson & Johnson said, and I wanted to quote her here, customers aren't just looking for the product and the packaging, but they're really looking for the entire experience. Some of you may have also heard the quote saying that the unboxing is now the new retail shelf, but that retail shelf is also amplified by social media. It's the anticipation of not knowing what's inside and wanting to savor the moment. But in this day and age of Instagram and YouTube, brands really have a unique opportunity to enhance their image with the packaging. Think about the ripple effect and how the ripple effect works for the brand. So oftentimes with online reviews, the initial comments will be about the box and the packaging. But if the packaging arrives damaged or is difficult to open or hasn't protected the contents inside, these are all consumer impressions that unfortunately will have a bad image for the brand. We can't talk about packaging trends without talking about sustainability. In the packaging industry, the move towards sustainable practices and products and materials is already happening and has been happening for a long time. And we know that recycling isn't a new concept for consumers, but Generation Z takes this concept much further. They're now asking about the ability to recycle more and to understand how recycling really works. As written here on the slide, 51% of consumers consider packaging waste an important environmental issue, and that sustainability of paper-based packaging is more important to them today than it was 5 years ago. So the new generations are no longer saying, is this product good for me? But they're saying, how does this brand or how does this product affect my planet? And there are CPG companies that have made a lot of improvements in this sphere. However, the majority still seem to be using standard size cartons in the e-commerce operations, which are often too big. Only 44% of CPG companies have included packaging within their sustainability goals. In fact, Forbes Insights and DS Smith researches say that when it comes to e-commerce packaging, 60% of it is still carrying some type of empty space. Amazon's mission is to optimize the overall consumer experience by collaborating with manufacturers worldwide to invent sustainable packaging that delights customers, eliminates waste, and ensures that the products arrives intact and undamaged. So let's take a look at Amazon's own packaging innovation. The first generation of the Kindle packaging weighed 300 grams and used 8,000 trees per million units. What you're seeing now here on the slide is the 10th generation of the Kindle packaging. This one is down to only 50 grams and uses only 1,000 trees per million units. Therefore, they can now put 72% more units per pallet. So through their frustration-free program, Amazon wants to eliminate the wrap rage that comes, that improves the user experience, especially when they're unable to open a package quickly. But Amazon really goes beyond that. With the removal of the wrap rage from packaging, it's the idea to bring excellence to the consumer experience, including when the package is open. So here, the simple addition of a tear tape enhances this experience and makes the opening so much more delightful for the consumer. So how do you delight your customers in this new e-commerce supply chain? Here are some ways that H.B. Fuller Technologies can help you do that. Preventing product damage and expensive returns is really critical. So retailers also want to ensure that their goods arrive in perfect conditions, and this can result in overpacking, especially when you read studies that says that the average box is dropped on average 17 times. This is according to Anima package and container testing. So what do? You'll overprotect, but if you overprotect, you'll produce waste. So more often, overprotecting will look like a pile of boxes, a nest of excessive air pillows, or a tiny item swimming inside an oversized container. We know that that's all of a consumer turnoff. So designing the right size container is really key, but Sesame tapes can help address these challenges. The Sesame tapes, as you see on the picture here, are incorporated in the container during the corrugation process. So you won't be able to see them outside or inside the box because they're really embedded between the outside liner and medium. These tapes, they reinforce the packaging, improving the stacking strength by keeping the sidewalls straight, reducing bulge, and preventing the score lines from tearing. But during the difficult e-commerce distribution chain, our customers mainly utilize their tapes to prevent the box or the container from bursting. Because the tapes help with stacking, they also allow manufacturers to reduce the weight of the board, therefore reducing material and protecting the box and the item, and potentially even reducing the shipping costs. Using Sesame tapes not only makes the box stronger, but it makes the box last longer and can reduce costs all at the same time. Here's a great example of a project we worked on. One of our customers came to us with a challenging delivery requirement. They were delivering food by bicycles, and the handle needed to be very strong to withstand the impacts of this type of delivery. So in this case, we use Sesame tapes to reinforce the critical stress point, allowing the box and the handle to perform without having to add any additional materials or even increase the paperboard combination. So these are the type of challenges that we welcome from our customer to help them meet the new needs in e-commerce. Tamper-proofing has become increasingly important feature with e-commerce. This is especially true to protect high-value items. As an example, an electronic company saw an opportunity to increase the premium appearance and experience of their e-commerce packaging by adding our opening feature and branding it Grip It and Rip It. Open Sesame tapes do not compromise the packaging strength like perforations can. It also resists tampering and makes the packaging tamper evident. As you can see on this image, once the tear tape has been pulled, the packaging is then damaged and cannot return to its original state. Another key trend is meal and food delivery, as you've seen on the previous slide. And in the wake of food safety scandals and to avoid any risks, restaurants really need to identify ways to prevent tampering incidents and to do everything they can to prevent foodborne illnesses. The use of our double-sided closing tape, in this case, can be utilized to both reinforce the handle, as you see here on the picture in the middle, and also to seal the bag, hence making the bag tamper evident. The only way you would access the food inside would be to tear it open. Beyond reinforcement, or making the packaging tamper evident and safer because you don't need a knife to open it, Sesame tapes also empower the consumer opening experience, as we saw with the Amazon Kindle example. Our opening tapes are incorporated into the container during the packaging manufacturing process and can cut through lightweight to heavy double-walled board combination. In fact, our customer 1-800 contacts is a company that also wanted to delight consumers and their customers. Their service is all about making it simple and easy for the consumer by ordering contacts refills online. So they carried this concept for easy opening by adding it to the container and to the opening experience by using our opening feature. As I mentioned earlier, besides corrugated, our technologies can be used in paper mailers, paper bags, and envelopes. The use of a tear tape, as seen on this picture, is also known as a PSA tape, which means pressure-sensitive adhesive. This tear tape is a simple but efficient way to empower the customer or the consumer experience. Studies have shown that a more premium packaging with the slightest enhancements really go a long way. In fact, 40% of consumers are likely to make a repeat order from an online merchant with a premium packaging. So think about that first impression I mentioned earlier and how critical those 22 seconds were in the unboxing experience. H.B. Fuller's opening tear tapes really differentiate themselves with their superior bond to a variety of material. For example, they are often used on high graphics and glossy packaging. H.B. Fuller's tear tapes come in different widths and strengths and can allow to tear through lightweight corrugated container or paper envelopes to a heavy double-wall container as well. H.B. Fuller double-sided closing tapes are also available for spool-wound rolls, mainly used on corrugators, or pancake-wound rolls, mainly used on intermittent application. Roll-to-roll splicing is also available. We offer a variety of tape widths from 3/4 of an inch to 2-inch wide. These are great solutions for a quick seal and peel e-commerce container. The release liner can be offset or centered to offer a finger lift. You can also print the release liner if you wanted to with the brand's name and logo. So according to a DS Smith research, returns in 2017 were estimated to $400 billion for both e-commerce and retail stores. That's 53% higher over the last 2 years. So returns in the brick and mortar purchases, they really tend to hover around 8%. But on the e-commerce side, returns can reach as high as 15 to 30%. So there's different ways to provide a convenient return using the same e-commerce pack resealed without damage or compromise. In fact, 94% of consumers say they strongly prefer to do returns using the original packaging instead of having to use an additional one. So let's keep in mind the customer experience or the consumer experience. We know that that's not over when the package is delivered and open. Not even if the merchant or the vendor went through the trouble of, including a return label in the box. The return is another important engagement opportunity between the brand and the end user. And that relationship and that engagement opportunity requires the same amount of detail. And the example that we have here is the H.B. Fuller returnable mailer. It showcases a sealing tape that is used to close the packaging, and you can also see the blue Sesame opening tape. There's a second sealing tape on the flap that's folded. So once the mailer is opened by the consumer, it can be resealed using the tape on the second flap, making the entire experience easy and frustration-free for the consumer. As you can see, H.B. Fuller offers a variety of equipment solutions to fit your needs. So whether you are a box plant and you currently already have a wet end tape dispensing equipment on your corrugator that you use for Sesame reinforcing tapes, well, you can also use the same equipment to add Sesame opening tapes. We refer to these tapes as top-of-the-board application on the wet end. But some of you may prefer to add it on the dry end of your corrugator with the pressure-sensitive tapes that I presented earlier. We also have intermittent tape application solutions because sometimes box plants may not want to add these capabilities on the corrugator and prefer to do it in their converting department. Whatever the preference is, we can help. H.B. Fuller's dry end tape applicator is designed to dispense our product effectively on the surface of a running web of a corrugator. Each unit monitors and adjusts tension based on the line speed of the corrugator process. The dry end equipment is designed for heavy industrial use with custom parts that are resilient in high heat and high speed environments. It can also be configured to run other products like double-sided adhesive tape that we saw earlier. This is an easy to install and user-friendly applicator that can provide production efficiency and an added business advantage. Lastly, and most importantly, all of H.B. Fuller's equipment are installed and maintained by our technical specialists at no additional cost to our customers. So we know that speed and efficiency are critical in the manufacturing process, especially when applying tapes to the packaging. And the dry and inline equipment that we've just seen for corrugators may not necessarily be a good fit for the business. So for these reasons, we've partnered with Straub Design Company to apply both opening and tear tapes and double-sided closing tapes, but intermittently. So this means that only the strip of tape that you need is applied. Straub Designs, they serve customers around the world. They have a versatile tape applicators that can be mounted over your existing equipment, like a folder gluer, for example. These equipments apply tape strips intermittently, and they can run up to 750 feet per minute, and they're able to also apply a variety of different tape widths. They can also build and customize a standalone equipment to meet your operation efficiency goals, as you see here on the right of this slide. So in the beginning of the presentation, I said that originally providing protection and delivering on time would have resulted in a satisfied customer. But you've seen that there's so much more to it. I really like Henry Ford's quote that says, "If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've got." So now it's time to innovate. And when you do innovate, keep in mind that the customer's experience needs to be at the center of every packaging innovation you create. Think of ways to delight the consumer with opening features, reinforce the packaging without additional fiber, or make it frustration-free for them to return the items if they should need to do so. So with all these changes and this rapid growth, are you ready to create your packaging solution that really works for e-commerce? We know that you are sometimes faced with too many choices and you don't necessarily have all the time in the world for research, but we at H.B. Fuller can make it frustration-free to design your e-commerce packaging. H.B. Fuller Adhesive Coated Solutions team is the only packaging material partner that has a broad and proven capability to be a single source of expertise and solutions. When working with us, you gain access to a global network of corrugators that we work with. You also gain access to cutting-edge packaging testing facilities and to developmental professionals that really understand the evolving and packaging market. So we don't only provide tapes and adhesives and coating, but we bring to the market the technical expertise that you need to select the best equipment, solutions, and applications for your products. On that note, Virginia, I'm ready to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Tanya. A reminder, if you have questions, please type in the questions box on your screen. Tanya, I do have some questions from the attendees. Your first question is, how do your products support sustainability?
Thank you, Justine. That's a great question. Sustainability is a very critical need, as we've seen. Our Sesame tape supports sustainability in different ways. This support sustainability goes by, using recycled fiber content and papers from sustainable sources. Because they also support the reduction of carbon footprint, because they allow for reduced board weights, material reduction, and therefore lower transportation costs. The tapes also empower reuse and retripping, right, by extending the life of the box and enabling the design to be returned. So it's helping the circular economy in that way. But what's important to know is that Sesame tape supports the OCC recycling process. They're separated out in the process of the repulping, and they really enable the packaging to remain curbside recycled. Does that answer your question, Justine?
Yes, thank you. Tanya, another question. Do you think consumer goods packaging companies are really making a shift in focusing on more sustainable solutions?
Another great question. So countries like the US and Canada, well, they've often relied or actually have relied on China for so many years to send their waste. But things now have no choice but to change. China is no longer taking the waste. Combined with the regulatory pressures, I think that that'll drive the need for a better recycled material and hopefully reduce the cost of it. CPG companies right now are really jumping on board this green movement and embracing it with their redesigned packaging. The circular economy right now is the new reality based on principles of eliminating waste and finding ways for materials to be shared, reused, and recycled. So I really think there's going to be a lot more focus on it from the consumer good companies.
Thank you. Another question. How do we bring a project to H.B. Fuller, and how do you get started?
Well, that's a great question. I just put my contact information up. The first thing you can do is get connected with me, contact me, and I will put you in contact with your area's territory manager. So together, you'll discuss what your packaging needs are, what your packaging goals are, and together you'll brainstorm design ideas. And then H.B. Fuller can help validate the concepts using your packaging design facility. We can also issue test reports if needed. So with the data to demonstrate, for example, that the packaging costs and the performance are calculated. If the packaging needs to be certified for Amazon, our lab also has the APAS certification, so we can also help assist with that as well. But again, we are connected to a network of corrugators, so we can help bring that design to market using our corrugators, or if you prefer working, or if the company prefers working with its own packaging manufacturers, we can help assist with that as well.
Thank you, Tanya. There are no further questions.
Well, thank you so much. I'd like you all to connect with me if you should need any further information, or if you need me to answer other questions that may come to mind. Again, I want to thank you all for attending this morning, and I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.